All right, in this short demo, we're going to show you how to get the H&M Personalized Fashion Recommendations Kaggle competition up and running as a Kubeflow pipeline using the Kfp Sdk. The first thing to do is going to be to log in to your Kubeflow as a Service interface. Make sure to grab your username and password if you haven't already done so, and log in. And once you're logged in, you want to navigate over to the Notebooks view, and from here we want to create a new notebook. Now we're going to give it a name, nothing more fancy than H&M. And once you've given your notebook a name, we want to tweak some of the defaults here. We want to give ourselves access to a full virtual CPU. We want to give ourselves 32 gigs of RAM as well as 50 gigs as our workspace volume. We are dealing with a significant amount of data here that we're going to process. Click on the launch button. And once our notebook is actually up and running, we're ready to go ahead and connect to it. So go ahead and click on the connect button. And now that's going to take us into a Jupyter Lab launcher. And now we're ready to go ahead and do one quick setup, which is going to be to go over to the Kaggle website. And assuming you already have an account, go to your account details, scroll down a little bit on your profile, and locate the create a new API token if you haven't already created one. And this is going to create a Kaggle.json file, and in it it's going to have your username as well as an API key. Don't worry, I'm not giving away any secrets there. That's dummy data. So now go ahead and open up a terminal inside of Jupyter Lab, and what we want to do is we want to create a Kubernetes secret, and you can use that using the Kaggle create secret command. So once you've done that, you can go ahead and open up another terminal, and from here we're ready to go ahead and git clone the repository for this particular project. So once you've downloaded the repository, you want to navigate into the examples directory, and from here locate the H&M Fashion Recommendations directory. Double click on that, and you're going to find 3 notebooks in here, as well as a readme requirements.txt, as well as a resource.yaml. And this is what's going to help us create our pod default. So go ahead and open up another terminal, and we want to make sure that we navigate into that directory, and you can see the resource.yaml file there. And we're going to do a Kaggle apply resource.yaml, and that's going to go ahead and create our pod default for us. So let's go ahead and open up the KFP notebook, and the first thing to do here is going to be to install KFP with the upgrade flag. So let's go ahead and run that. And once that successfully executes, we can go ahead and comment that back out, because we only need to run this once if we keep running the notebook, so no need to keep that uncommented. Next up in the notebook, we want to import the Kfp Sdk, so let's go ahead and run that, which takes us to the next piece of code that we want to run, which is to import our packages, which is going to be pandas, sklearn, Kaggle, numpy, and a few other ones. This moves us right along into the next section of the notebook, where we want to download the data from Kaggle, and this is where we're going to leverage that secret that we created. So let's go ahead and run the code to create that download data function, and then let's also run the complementary code that's going to create a pipeline step from that function. Next up, we want to load and pre-process the data. So this is going to be our second step in the pipeline. Let's go ahead and run that to create the function, and then run the code that's going to create or turn this function into a pipeline component. Now moving on to the next section, where we're going to create our sparse index. Let's go ahead and run the code that's going to create that function, and then the complementary code that's going to turn this function into a pipeline component. Next up is the train the model pipeline step. So let's go ahead and run the code to define that particular function, and of course the complementary code that's going to turn this function into a pipeline component. And that takes us down to predictions. So here in predictions, let's go ahead and run the code to turn this or to create this function, and then the complementary code that turns the function into a pipeline component. And then now we're going to define what our pipeline looks like, which is all those different functions that we specified earlier. And now we're ready to call the Kubeflow Pipeline client and run the pipeline. So let's go ahead and do that. You'll see we've got 2 hyperlinks there. Let's click on the Run Details hyperlink, and that's going to automatically navigate us to the pipeline execution graph. And here you can see the various steps that we specified executing. We've got our volume that we created. We're downloading the Kaggle data set. We're then loading and pre-processing the data. We're then creating our sparse matrix step, and then we do our train the model step, and then I believe we wrap things up here with our predictions step. And we're looking at the simplified view, but you can always look at the more complex view of the relationships in the different pipeline steps. And of course, you can look at visualizations, details, volumes, ML metadata, events, and all that good stuff. So that's it. You have successfully created a Kubeflow pipeline for the H&M Personalized Fashion Recommendations Kaggle competition using the KFP SDK.